how you doing?
I'm very well, Andrew.
You're enjoying Houston so far?
I'm enjoying Houston, as always. Houston's a lovely city. Especially at this Christmas time of year. You guys, Houston goes crazy for Christmas.
It does, it does.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see. And on the topic of Christmas, you just did a new Prep and Landing.
Yes, I don't know if anyone's seen those, the Prep and Landing Christmas specials.
Yes.
We did for Disney. Yeah, I just recorded a new one that's going to be out for Christmas 25.
Awesome. So mark that on your calendars, folks. Next year,
yeah.
Prep and Landing.
Yeah, mark Christmas down too. You don't want to miss that.
So can you give us some insight on, I heard a story today you were telling someone, on the audition process for A Bug's Life. It's quite the story that you have.
Oh, well, yeah, well, at the time, I don't know if any of you ever watched a show called News Radio. Oh, good. So I was doing a sitcom called News Radio, and they actually asked three of us to come over and audition. I went over with my friend Vicki Lewis and Stephen Root. The three of us went over to the Disney Studios during a break from News Radio. I think during our lunch. And we got there, and Vicki and Stephen went in, did their auditions. And then when it was time for me to do my audition, the casting people came out and said, "We're so sorry, Dave, but would you mind, Carol Burnett just came in. Do you mind if we bump you for Carol Burnett?" And I said, not only do I not mind, I would protest loudly if you did not bump everyone in the world for Carol Burnett. And so they bumped me for Carol Burnett, and so I went back to work, and then a day later I got a call saying they wanted me, and I was going to read for the part of the stick insect that David Hyde Pierce played in the movie. But I think they felt bad about bumping me, so they brought me back and let me read for Flick, which I figured they were just doing as a courtesy, out of guilt, because they're very nice people at Pixar. And so they brought me back in to read for Flick, and so I started doing it. And partway through my audition, Andrew Stanton and John Lasseter started going, "Oh yeah, I like what he's doing there. You know what we could do? We could take this and we could rewrite this scene to be more like what he's doing here." And they started like talking about changing the character based on what I was doing in the audition. And I had to say, "Hey guys, you haven't hired me." And they had to go, "Oh yes, of course. Well, yes, we'll hear from our representatives." But so they hired me on the spot in the middle of my audition, which was very nice of them.
So you went from auditioning during your lunch for a stick insect to having the movie about you and probably lots of rewrites to be more based on your character.
They did, yes. They changed they started changing the character and rewriting the dialogue to sort of suit what they liked about what I was doing.
That's
so
incredible.
It was very nice. It was very flattering, and I only went to the audition because I was a Toy Story fan and I wanted to meet the guys that made Toy Story.
That's
so
incredible.
I didn't think they'd hire me. That's usually my approach to everything, is I don't think they'll hire me.
And now you were also filming News Radio. Was there any overlap? Was it hard to work on both projects?
Most of the time it was fine. They would John Lasseter essentially we'd go and do these sessions, and John would save all of the screaming, because Flick does a lot of panicked screaming in the movie. They would save those for the ends of the sessions, and then I would burn my voice out. But there was one time we had to do a session the day before shoot night on News Radio, and so John burnt my voice out, as he always did. And the next day I had to go do News Radio, and that episode, John, for years and years after that, he said every time he saw that episode rerun, he would feel guilty because he could hear my character on News Radio barely able to talk.
And what season? You don't know what season that would have been?
I can't remember.
Go home, watch News Radio, look for the episode, stream the whole series, and now you guys will hear that and be able to take that home.
Yeah.
So does anybody in the audience have any questions you guys want to ask Dave? I'll come down, bring you the mic. You guys can ask him right here.
Yeah. And I'll come closer.
So this is something I've been very interested about regarding working at Pixar, especially one of the people who had founded and worked there. I don't know if he was there when you were starting, but what was it like having to work with like Steve Jobs, or did he leave Pixar for Apple around that time? Like, was he a different person? Because I know he was known to be a jerk and everything, but was he a different person in the studio at the time?
Well, I only met Steve Jobs once, and actually I met him because John invited me down to this scoring stage for Monsters Inc. So I got to go down and watch Randy Newman conduct the orchestra over at Sony Studios. And while we were there, Steve Jobs showed up and was hanging out, and I was very excited about because I was a huge Apple fan. And he was very, very nice and polite and friendly, and and also my brother-in-law is a jazz musician who loves Randy Newman, so I actually got to get a copy of the score for Monsters Inc. signed by Randy Newman and Steve Jobs. So that was exciting for me. So he was very nice. He didn't yell at me at all. Yeah, he didn't make me cry.
Any other questions from the audience here? Anyone want to ask down here on the end? Awesome.
Here we go.
What's your name?
Rihanna.
Rihanna?
Brianna. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Oh,
sorry.
right.
Not like the singer.
I was excited for a second.
I know, I was too. So this doesn't have anything to do with Bug's Life, but it does have to do with Sky High.
Oh, okay.
Because I really love that movie.
Me
and
too.
I love you in it because I was like not expecting to see you, and then Kevin shows up in it. And I was like, that's really neat. So what was that experience like? Because that movie was crazy and I adore it.
Oh, me too. It was really fun. I mean, it was such a great cast. I mean, Kurt Russell is hilarious. And we had, God, I keep blanking on her name. Linda Carter. Linda Carter was in it, so I was so excited to meet Linda Carter because I was, of course, a kid when the original Wonder Woman was on. And she was still really beautiful and very friendly and nice. Who else was in there? Cloris Leachman was in the show. Yeah, Bruce Campbell. Just an amazing cast and really fun. And all the young actors on it. Was it now? God, last name Braun is now a big star because of Nicholas Braun. Thank you, from that other Succession. You can answer the questions better than me. But it was really fun, and it was one of the only things that Two Kids in the Hall got cast in. Yeah. Yeah, and about halfway through shooting, Mike Mitchell, who is the writer and director of the movie, realized that there were no scenes with me and Kevin in them. And so he said, so we were doing the Save the Citizen scene. And he said, let's set a camera up and let Kevin and Dave improvise something. Yeah. Yes, they said, you guys, there has to be something with the two of you together. And so they let us improvise a scene, which was really fun.
That's great. Question over here. Tell us your name and your question.
Hi, my name is Shalom. So,
Hi.
besides A Bug's Life, do you have any other favorite Pixar movies?
Oh my God, I love them all. I think as a favorite, Up is pretty great. Up is pretty amazing. I love that one. Also a big fan of WALL-E. One of the other ones, I thought Brave was really good, which people forget about that one. Which was nice because it was the only one they hadn't done any with a female character in the lead. So I like that a lot. What's your favorite?
I'm gonna have to say the Toy Story franchise.
Oh, I love it. Yes,
Love
they're
it.
all great. They're all great and beautiful. Yes.
Thanks. Any other questions, guys? Right here.
Hello, Dave. My name's Steven. I'm also a fellow coffee connoisseur. What do you consider needs to be the perfect cup of coffee?
Oh, the perfect cup of coffee is the one in my hand. Any coffee that if you drink as much as I can, you can't be picky. I'll drink any crap.
Dave has a line for those of you, when you ask how do you take your coffee, Dave will always say constantly.
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys?
Oh, over here.
Over here.
Front
Perfect.
row.
Front row.
Third seat in.
Jojo, I had a chance to talk to you the other day. You mentioned you liked hockey. I forgot to ask, what's your favorite team and what got you into hockey?
Well, my favorite team is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I guess geography got me into hockey. I was born in Canada. And and as you're printing out, they print out your birth certificate and then assign you a position on a team at the same time. So so I played hockey until I was about 16, when everybody got big enough to kill me. So I stopped playing. So once everyone else on the team was 200 pounds and 6'3", and I was 5'8" and 110 pounds. So I thought I should probably find a new hobby. So I became an artsy guy.
Now, on the topic of Canadian, Dave, do you find a Canadian comedian that moves to Hollywood, and are you treated any different, or being a Canadian comedian, or is funny just funny across the board?
Well, you're treated a little differently, because I don't know if you know this about America. You guys are smug, and everyone else is inferior to you. But the best you get as a foreigner is begrudging respect. It'll be like, you're pretty good for a Canadian. But yeah.
And yet some of the best comedians are Canadian.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to impact Americans. But yeah, no, I've actually had such a great, I've been living in the U.S. Almost longer than I lived in Canada at this point.
We want your Canadian citizenship back.
Yes.
We want you back on homeland.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much, America's home, and has been for over 30 years now.
And they're lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Now, aside from all the iconic roles you've played, you now have a podcast.
Oh yeah.
And to shed a little light, for those of you who don't know, he has a podcast called?
It's called Really with Tom and Dave, and it's a UFO podcast. I don't know if anyone here is interested in the UFO subject. Yeah, and it's a very interesting time to be doing a podcast about UFOs, as the Pentagon acknowledges that they're real, and as Congress is starting to investigate the existence of craft retrieval and reverse engineering programs, which, guess what, are real, which is pretty bizarre and crazy. But, I've spent some time talking with the man that ran the Pentagon's top secret UFO research program. And even about 2 years ago, he kind of dropped at a dinner table that the U.S. government is in possession of flying saucers and alien bodies. And that's probably all going to become very public over this next year. So if you like UFO podcasts, I've got one. We've been off for a little while, but we got about 50 episodes up and available for anyone.
You guys get a lot of great guests on. You get a
Yeah.
lot. You seem to always have your finger on the pulse of what's happening in that community when it's happening, and before it's public knowledge most times.
Yeah, it's been really, for me, it's just been a great education, and doing the podcast is a great excuse to get to talk to really interesting people who have had amazing experiences, including like a guy named Mario Woods, who was a security officer at a nuclear missile site, and who went out and saw, he described it as a craft the size of a Walmart hovering over a missile silo, and he and his partner were basically frozen in their truck, and then the next thing he knew, his truck was 7 miles away facing a dam, and there were no tracks leading to their car in the wet ground or in the snow, and the 5 hours were missing. So as you meet these people and these crazy things that happen to them, and you realize it's been going on a long time, so it's
pretty wild
it's
stuff.
It's a great opportunity, and and again, get to meet a lot of the sort of prominent people in the UFO field.
Yeah.
Through the show.
That's great. Now, turning back to the acting.
If I must.
And the amazing career you've had. It's been 40 years of The Kids in the Hall.
Yes.
You guys have had an amazing career, so many classic sketches. Do you have
I
a
think
sketch?
4 people here remember it.
Come on, guys, Kids in the Hall, make some noise.
No, that's it. Yeah, it's about 4. I was right, about 4. Yeah.
Do you have any sketches that you did with Kids in the Hall that you thought there is no way that's making it on TV, and you were shocked that it did?
Well, there's children here, so I can't even describe the sketches that I thought that about. Especially even we did a reboot a couple of years ago where we did 8 new episodes. And if you are a Kids in the Hall fan, I would recommend not having your kids in the room during the first episode of the reboot.
Opening scene.
Or if you just don't want to be horrified by the sight of old naked men, don't watch it at all. This would be my advice. Yeah, it's been pretty amazing that this thing that we started back in the mid '80s is still going, and that people are still watching it after all these years.
And it's amazing hearing the impact that the Kids in the Hall have had on other comedians and other amazing actors.
It's nice. Like most of the most of the comedians that I really enjoy and respect and like usually will say that they were influenced by the Kids in the Hall show. You know, when they were younger, that they watched it, you know, before they had their careers.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Guys, well, we have had a blast with you, and we are going to be at our table over in that corner signing, so if there's questions you have that you didn't maybe want to get on the mic and ask, if you want to talk more about UFOs and amazing acting stories that Dave has, please come over and see us. We'll have our photo ops later.
Yeah, and we're right next to Kevin Spacey, also from A Bug's Life.
Yeah, we're doing the Bug's Life reunion, so definitely come on over, come say hello, and we'll see you guys there.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
Dave Foley, everyone.
Cheers.